Logs calls on Prime Minister Stephen Harper to meet with community leaders over their rights concerns. Sean Atleo says the natives demand that authorities fix what he called a series of broken treaties by the Canadian government. He also said the natives are frustrated with Canada's system that does not address long-standing disparities between Aboriginals and the rest of the nation. Anger is rising in the country over the government's violation of natives' rights. Activists there say...
Seriously? Yeah, well, look how many women are missing. Not big on radar. Let's check out here. It's not big. Number includes over 1,000 Aboriginal homicide victims between 1980 and 2012. 1,000. 164 Aboriginal women currently considered missing. 164. Of those, by the way, there are 225 unsolved cases of either missing or murdered Aboriginal women. Take a look at the number, 4.3% of the female population, alright? Aboriginal women are only 4.3% of the population. Yet, here, take a look at this. Murdered Aboriginal females that represent 16%.
Hey, we the last of the chiefs, we the last of the chiefs, we the last ones left, huh? Hey, we the last of the chiefs, wanna see me on a drink, wanna see me on a meth, huh? Hey, we the last of the chiefs, wanna see me in the hood, wanna see me in a rest, huh? Hey, we the last of the chiefs, wanna see me in a cell, wanna see me in my death, huh? Hey, we the last of the chiefs, we the last of the chiefs, we the last ones left, huh? Hey, we the last of the chiefs, wanna see me on a drink, wanna see me on a meth, huh? Hey, we the last of the chiefs, wanna see me in the hood, wanna see me on a rest, huh? Hey, we the last of the chiefs, wanna see me in a cell, wanna see me in my death, huh? Hey, gain trust, set up the camp, establish the fur trade and scope out the land. Blankets of gifts and the sick and disease. Now trade them the medicine for the treaties. Reserves made to stop isolating control. Sign up the documents, many to all. Reservation schools were truly disguised as prison camps. Breaking parenting skills, laying to really trap. This installs a need for institution, because that's how they're raised as the students. What means all they know is the conviction, because the schools were disguised as the prison.
Double honors to the elders of Great Millstone, you know. And all the brothers are doing the work out there in sincerity and in truth. This is Brother Tamaya from the Toronto camp. We're going to do a small lesson here today on Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, from 9 all the way down to 16. Woe to him that covereth an evil covetous to his own house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from power of evil. Yeah, this is pretty much going into the so-called white man, you know, and all the things and the atrocities that he did when he came over here to establish his so-called kingdom, you know, by murdering all the natives, the Gadites, and all the other northern kingdom tribe that was here and throughout the whole of North and Central America, you know. All the murder, the children getting killed, you know, and that's going into the so-called Thanksgiving that you guys have over here, man. That all the southern and northern kingdoms are still celebrating, you know. If you guys know the history, you will know that was your people getting murdered, you know. So thou hast consulted shame to thy own house by calling off many people, and has sinned against thy soul. That's right. And you've killed many people, man. Not just any people, but the chosen people of the Most High. You know? That's how you establish your kingdom. That's how your kingdom has to go down. Because the way you got it and set it up is by murdering the chosen people of the Most High, man. You know? And there will be a recompense for that. For the stone shall cry out to the wall, and the beam out to the timber shall answer. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establish a city by iniquity. That's right. And all the blood that you shed from by the Gadites and the other tribes, man. You know. It says, woe unto him that buildeth a town by blood. Right. That's how he built this place up. You know, with the blood of the so-called Native American Indians and the so-called Negro doing slavery here, because they were also lynched, you know, by this land. You know, so their blood is actually crying out, man, to the Heavenly Father, you know. Woe unto him that buildeth a town with blood and established a city by iniquity. That's right. Because it's all sin over here, man. That's how this place is run off, wickedness and sin, man. You know? Behold, it is not of the Lord of hosts that the people shall labor in the very fire, and the people shall weary themselves for very vanity. For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the water covereth the sea. Woe unto him that giveth his neighbor drink and putteth the bottle to him. That's right, man. Because that's what you did to the Gadites, man. You destroyed them, and then after that you give them strong liquor to drink, man. And that's how they're destroyed even up to today, you know. Many Gadites are out here destroyed because of the things that you done to them. And this being one of the main things, man. Putting liquor to them, you know. That put us the bottle to him and make us him drunken also. And that can go twofold because that goes into philosophy as well, man. The strong drink that you give the so-called natives and the other tribes, man. Your Christianity, by steering them away from the name of the Lord, telling them that they can call upon, speak their language, so to speak, that they came over here with, you know. That maketh them drunken also, that thou mayest look on their nakedness. That's right, they're ashamed, man. Because if a nation stray from their God and they can't worship and call upon their God name or do the things that they're supposed to, that nation's gonna be low, man. That's the nation of Israel. And us being low, at a low state, that's our shame because all these heathens are ruling over us, man. You know? And that's how we're low, man. That's our nakedness. Our women are out of order. The young men out here are out of order. You know? That's us being naked. Thou art filled with shame for glory. Thou also, and let thy foreskin be uncovered. The cup of the Lord's right hand shall be turned unto thee, and shameful spewing shall be on thy glory, you know? So this is going into the so-called white man. And the Most High saying that he's gonna pretty much expose the so-called white man for all the things that he's done, man. You know? Thou art filled with shame for glory. That's right. Because whenever the brothers are on the highways and byways and they bring up all the things that the so-called white man has done, man, they try to neglect it. They try to say, oh, let's forget about it, you know? And that's how your glory right now is in your kingdom. But how did you get it, man? By cutting off many people. And that's your shame, you know? The so-called Thanksgiving that is coming up right now, so we're kind of touching on it and how you got and how we, the people out here, the so-called Israelites, are celebrating these holidays because of the things that you've done to us. You know, you whipped it in our mind that we should celebrate these holidays, but like when you go into the history, it's our own people that's being destroyed, you know? So with that, I'd like to say all praises to Yahweh Shem Yahushai and shalom.
Yeah, this is the book Lies My Teacher Told Me by James W. Lowen right here. And this is going into chapter 3. It's going into how there's more, there were settlements even prior before Plymouth Rock. This is page 71. Starting the story of America's settlement with the Pilgrims leaves out not only American Indians, but also the Spanish. The first non-native settlers in the country we know as the United States were African slaves left in South Carolina in 1526 by Spaniards who abandoned a settlement attempt. In 1565, the Spanish massacred the French Protestants who had settled briefly near present-day Jacksonville, Florida, and established their own fort at St. Augustine. Between 1565 and 1568, Spaniards explored the Carolinas, building several forts that were then burned by the Indians. Some later Spanish settlers were our first pilgrims seeking regions new to them to secure religious liberty. These were Spanish Jews who settled in New Mexico in the late 1500s. Few Americans know that 1/3 of the United States, from San Francisco to Arkansas to Natchez to Florida, has been Spanish longer than it has been American, and that Hispanics and Hispanic Americans lived here before the first ancestors of the daughters of the American Revolution ever left England. Moreover, Spanish culture left an indelible mark on the American West. The Spanish introduced horses, cattle, sheep, pigs, and the basic elements of cowboy culture, including its vocabulary: Mustang, Bronco, rodeo, lariat, and so on. Horses that escaped from the Spanish and propagated triggered the rapid flowering of the new culture among the Plains Indians. This is what Thanksgiving is known as to the majority of people in the Americas today and all around the world. No matter the mythic origin of the country we now know as the United States, is at Plymouth Rock, and the year is 1620. Here's a representative account from the American tradition. After some exploring, the Pilgrims chose the land around Plymouth Harbor for their settlement. Unfortunately, they had arrived in December and were not prepared for the New England winter. However, they were aided by friendly Indians who gave them food and showed them how to grow corn. When warm weather came, the colonists planted, fished, hunted, and prepared themselves for the next winter. After harvesting their first crop, they and their Indian friends celebrated the first Thanksgiving.
A book called Black Indians by William Loren Katz, and this is page 21. Alright, it says, if the children are of African or Native American descent, they learn that their ancestors lost badly and ingloriously, but that was all for the best anyway. The historical record often does not agree with these kinds of conclusions. The English newcomers sent to Roanoke Island in 1584 by Sir Walter Raleigh are a case in point. What these pioneers did was self-destruct over their own love of possession. When a silver cup allegedly disappeared, the Roanoke men roared out of their tiny enclave, muskets and torches in hand, to destroy their Indian neighbor's village and crops. This blazing display of European possession mania cut the colony off from one local source of help. When the Spanish Armada severed the settlement's connection to British ports, it withered and died. Roanoke Island became famous as the lost colony. You know, this is just another colony settlement that these Edomites had prior to Plymouth Rock. You know, Plymouth, Massachusetts Bay. You know, because they love to say that, you know, it started in 1620. You know, with the Mayflower. You know, and then they totally disregard previous settlements where they totally were wiped out because of being basically retarded as hell, you know, to show that they were feeble, right? They didn't know how to survive, you know. They couldn't survive because they didn't know how to. They didn't know how to plant corn. They didn't know how to survive in the winter. All right, so how come you guys don't start your America from there? Because it's total failure, man. You know. It says, in light of this unacceptable object lesson for children, most school texts prefer to begin U.S. history with another colony, Captain John Smith's Jamestown, Virginia, founded in 1607. Captain Smith was sent out by a London joint stock company seeking profits from colonization. Smith sailed with an overload of failed aristocrats and settled on land owned by the Algonquin Confederacy. Trouble began when the newcomers refused to plant, build, or exert themselves. Iron revolver in hand, Captain Smith ordered his lazy gentlemen to work or starve. Time and again, the English were rescued from starvation through the generosity of the Algonquin Confederacy, which provided corn and bread. Alright? The foreigners responded by refusing to share their European agricultural tools with the Indians, and violence soon broke out. At Roanoke Island, colonization proved a total failure. At Jamestown, what collapsed was the European work ethic. No wonder some historians decided that U.S. history did not begin until the arrival of the hardworking pilgrims aboard the Mayflower in 1620. leaping over events can avoid some unpleasant conclusions about early European motives, character, and success. You know, and it wasn't hard work ethic in Plymouth Rock and Plymouth either, man. You know, they're a bunch of damn devils. They were going into the natives of food stocks and stealing from them. They're robbing graves. You know, great grave robbers, grave diggers, whatever you want to call them. You know, the natives were also helping them, but these crackers, they were killing them, man. Whether through biological warfare or the actual sword. You know, you had the so-called Pequot wars where they killed over 700 natives, man. Women, men, and children. You know, so it's not that hard work ethic that they love to push towards you. You know, it was basically rape, robbery, murder. Right? That's what you don't learn. That's what you're not learning in the public school system about this stupid ass Thanksgiving, man.
The brother Maya called Paula from the trauma camp, bringing out scripture for this wicked ass holiday Thanksgiving, and I'm gonna get straight to the point. This is Sirach, chapter 12, verse 10. It says, "Never trust thine enemy, but like as iron rusts, so is his wickedness." And you know that enemy's talking about the so-called white people. You know, never trust thine enemy, because you understand the history of what happened during the time of Thanksgiving, or during the time of the whole Columbus era. So-called white man came in deceit, you know, came as peaceful, came humble, and then what happened after? They came and brought destruction, scurvy, you know, smallpox. Alright? It says, "Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness." You know, iron rusted is not, it's a low grade low in value metal. And that's like the so-called white people, you know, they're dissealed, right? I think we were talking about that. Yes. And then when he said themselves and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And you know, if our people knew about the laws, man, alright, knew about the so-called white man, would have got caught up in that mess, man. It was all according to prophecy that we had to go down. Right? Yet take good heed of him, take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as thou wipe a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his blood has not altogether wiped away. Now you see we have a window here. You get that little cloth, you wipe it around, you still see the image. Nothing's changed. That's the so-called white people, you know. No matter how much of a character they put on, how much of a charade, so to speak, they're still that same devil, man. You know, and that's how our people should basically. That's how people should what's that word? Wake up to the fact too, man. You know. So I'll read it from 10 again, all the way down. It says, "Never trust thine enemy, for like an iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching," right? Humbling himself and go crouching is something what a lion does. Because if you read the book of Genesis, it tells you how sin will crouch as a lion, waiting to devour his prey, right? "Yet take good heed and beware of him, and thou shalt be unto him as if thou wert a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his root has not altogether been wiped away." And then I'll read 12. It says, "Set him not by thee, lest when he had overthrown thee, he stand up in thy place," which he did, right? He took over America. That was the place that was set for Gad and Reuben. You know, the Seminole Indians and the Native American Indians to inhabit, to keep their law, statutes, and commandments, which they didn't do, right? Because it's according to prophecy. It says, "Neither let him sit at thy right hand, lest he seek to take thy seat," right? Gad was showing Esau how to live off the land, right? How to inhabit the cold, harsh weather that you know, North America experiences, you know, and what you experience living in North America. It says, "You can do whatever because lest he seek to take thy seat, and thou at the last remember my words and be pricked therewith." You know, that's why, you know, Gad certain, Seminole Indian, even the Southern tribe, man. We remember the words of the Lord, and we repent at that, man. Pricked at the heart, meaning like we regret, so to speak, of what we did, man. I'll just finish it up. It says, "Who will pity a charmer that is bitten with a serpent, or any such as come nigh a wild beast? So one that goes to a sinner and is defiled with his sins, who will pity? For a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry." And that's what basically happened. The Lord already warned us about these other nations, not to fall into their ways, not to learn the ways of the other nations. And then Sirach, for instance, was written way before the time of before the time of the Columbus era, so to speak. And we didn't take heed to that. So this is a continuation, leading up at 15. It says, for a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will tarry not, or he will not tarry. Verse 16, an enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagineth how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If an adversary come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. That's like the Christianity doctrine. They came here proclaiming that they believe in God. That they're gonna, like I said, becoming peaceful type of people. But they came and undermined us or the Native Americans, which is our brothers, because what? They came and took the land, man. Right? They indoctrinated the people into serving the so-called white man with the same book that we use to serve our power. It says, verse 18, he will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance. And that's how the so-called white man is, right? He's very capricious, man. You can never tell when he comes, when he will be, right? So, just like very first verse I read about never trust thine enemy. Pity a charmer that is bitten with the serpent, or any such as come nigh wild beasts. So one that goes to a sinner and is defiled with him in his sins, who will pity? For a while he will abide with thee, but if thou begin to fall, he will not tarry. An enemy speaketh sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he imagines how to throw thee into a pit. He will weep with his eyes, but if he find opportunity, he will not be satisfied with blood. If adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. And though he pretend to help thee, yet shall he undermine thee. He will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance. And when it talks about how when adversity come upon thee, thou shalt find him there first. Around those times too, a lot of the Native Americans basically were like warned within tribes because there was, they were expanding out, and the so-called white man came in the midst of that, and even made it work. He furthered the affliction that you guys have amongst yourselves, it says if he will shake his head and clap his hands and whisper much and change his countenance. It's self-explanatory how the devil is. With that, give all praise to Yahweh, Shem Yahushai, the water to the owners of the great millstone.
Shalom. So this section we're dealing with is the Jamestown, Virginia, all right, established in 1607. Famously known as via Disney and popular miseducation and lies. The Pocahontas story, where Pocahontas, being a young girl, saved Captain John Smith, was banished by her father, Powhatan. And it's been very popularized in that stigma of, Native girl saving the Edomite, going black woman sticking up for a white man is very popularized, and it's very it's a psychological weapon, you know. So we're gonna first establish what happened in Jamestown, all right? Because again, you only know what they want you to know, right? But through the spirit of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, the grace of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, you know, we're gonna show you true history of what happened at Jamestown. So this is from a book called American Indian Holocaust and Survival: A Population History since 1492 by Russell Thorpe. And this is page 68. It says the English also founded Jamestown Colony in 1607 in what is now Virginia. It was in the midst of the Great Powhatan Confederacy, which then encompassed about 30 tribes, including the Pamunkey and the Chickahominy, as well as the Powhatan. The Confederacy was led by the chief Wahon Sonakok, known to the English as Powhatan, who was also the leader of the Powhatan tribe. Scholars have estimated that there were 9,000 to 14,000 Indians in the coastal area where Jamestown was founded, and that there were perhaps almost as many elsewhere in modern-day Virginia. This adds up to a total population of 20 to 25,000, of which perhaps half, or about 12,000, were in the Powhatan Confederacy. The Indians of the Powhatan Confederacy were not unaware of Europeans when Jamestown was founded in their territory. Quite the contrary. Members of the Confederacy had surely encountered explorers Verrazano in the 1520s and Gomez in 1525. Again, earlier settlers that were wiped off prior to Plymouth Rock and Jamestown. And had subsequent contact with Spanish slave hunters and Jesuit priests. The Powhatan at the time of Jamestown were even said by colonists to have a strong hatred for the Spanish. Powhatan's father had allegedly been driven from the West Indies to the North American continent by them. It says, after establishing Jamestown, the colonists themselves had a difficult time in their own world, in their new world, Salaki. They suffered especially from a bad diet, starvation, and an epidemic, apparently of typhoid. Life was so hard in 1609 and 1610 that the period was called starving time. Much of the suffering, however, was apparently their own fault. Robert Beverly, who wrote 100 years afterward that this was so for wasting their old provisions and neglecting to gather others. Beverly further noted of the colonists, they continued, this is a quote, they continued in these scanty circumstances till they were at last reduced to such extremity as to eat the very hides of their horses. Now check this part. And the bodies of the Indians they had killed. So hold on. They killed Indians. Alright, I thought it was a peaceful interaction. And after killing Indians, they actually ate the bodies. So they were cannibals. Okay? This is documented facts. The Virginians, you know, the great colonists, you know, the founding pilgrims of America, you know, hard work ethic, that's what America pushes, right? They're a bunch of lazy, apparently slothful people that ate until the very last provisions, you know, ate into their last provisions, and you know, basically they were, you know, they had to become cannibals, which is indicative of Esau's nature, damn devil. Right? Continuing, it said, and sometimes also upon a pinch, they would not disdain to dig them up again to make a homely meal of after they had been buried. So they were grave robbers, they were going to graves of the natives, and they would dig them up and make a soup out of them, and obviously take any belongings that they would see, you know, any gold or silver or precious stones or, you know, anything of that sort. Okay, page 69. Nevertheless, with the help of the Powhatan Indians, probably in part because of the marriage of Powhatan's daughter Pocahontas to a Jamestown man, John Rolfe, which again is a half-truth, because what happened was Pocahontas was actually abducted, you know, because she was married to a native warrior called Kokum, I believe that's how you pronounce it, who was a top native warrior, one of the top, guarding the chief himself. You know, there's like 50 warriors that were chief, and basically she was kidnapped and her husband was killed, but the child survived. What happened was, when she was kidnapped, she was forced into this marriage with John Rolfe. You know, and again, her father didn't want to do any rash attack because he feared for his daughter's life, man. That was his beloved daughter. He loved her very much, so he didn't want the pilgrims to kill her. So, you know, they're married, whatever, and then she's with them, so he has to kind of help him out in that fucked up way, you know. And the Indians' fear of English weapons. The colonists somehow survived their first years. They even began to extend some dominance over the Powhatan, which of course in the beginning they didn't fear because, you know, they saw the guns and this and that. But listen, if they left them to themselves for winter, they would have been wiped out. You know, they would have been wiped out. By 1622, however, Powhatan had died and been succeeded by his brother Opichin Kano. Having had enough of the European intruders and their foreign ways, Opichin Kano attacked and killed 500 of the colonists, about 1/4 of their total numbers. It says his doubted satisfaction was short-lived. However, as a retaliation, the English colonists began what was called the First Indian War, in which they undertook the deliberate and systematic destruction of the Powhatan Confederacy. The colonists were instructed to root the Indians out for being longer a people upon the face of the earth. This is pretty much what they did, both to the Powhatan Confederacy and other Virginia Indian or tribes. One recorded incident is an example of the colonist warfare. This is the warfare practiced by the colonists. Quote, the English in 1623 negotiated a treaty with rebellious tribes in the Potomac River area. After a toast was drunk symbolizing eternal friendship, the Chisca chief and his sons, advisors, and followers, totaling 200, abruptly dropped dead from poisoned sack, and soldiers put the remainder out of their misery. Alright? And that was the warfare of the colonists. It says Opichin Kanu managed to stay alive for the following 20 years, and in 1644 he attacked again, although now so old and feeble that he was no longer able to walk or even to open his eyes without help. During the ensuing was another 500 colonists dead, but by this time that was only about 1 out of 16 colonists, as their population had grown. Thank you to the natives. Alright, the population had grown because, you know, again, John Rolfe and Pocahontas, you know, the Powhatan Indians, they eventually showed them how to plant tobacco, and that was the commodity in Virginia, you know, because there was no large amount of gold like they were seeking, like it was in the Oregon Trail in California, alright, in the Black Hills and Dakotas, alright, in other areas. It was tobacco, that was the commodity that they brought back to Europe, alright. It says during the ensuing, right, 1 out of 16 colonists, as their population had grown, the colonists eventually captured Opichin Kanu, took him to their Jamestown, and shot him while in prison. Minor warfare continued between Virginia Indians and the colonists after Opichin Kanu's death, but smallpox and other epidemics are thought to have been more important in subsequent Indian depopulations in the area, although epidemics had also occurred earlier. One Virginia Indian smallpox epidemic began in 1667 as a result of an infected sailor going ashore in present-day Northampton County and transmitting the disease to surrounding Indians. The usual fatal results transpired, and it was reported that they died by the hundred. In this way, practically every tribe fell into the hands of the Grim Reaper and disappeared. Eventually, a feeling of irresistible malice overcame the Tidewater Indians in the latter half of the 17th century as they suffered the effects of alcohol, disease, social breakdown, and a decline in population.
This is Kapayam. I'm reading from Lies My Teacher Told Me. All right. This is written by James W. Lowen. All right, Lowen. This is on page 84. To highlight that happy picture, textbooks underplay Jamestown and the 16th century Spanish settlement in favor of Plymouth Rock as a archetypical birthplace of the United States. Virginia, according to T.H. Byrne, ill-served latter historians in search of the mythic origins of American culture. Historians could hardly thought Virginia as moral in intent, for in the words of the first history of Virginia written by a Virginian, the chief design of all parties concerned was to fetch away the treasure from thence, aiming more at sudden gain than to form any regular colony. The Virginians' relationship with American Indians were particularly unsavory. In contrast to Squanto, volunteer, the English in Virginia took Indian prisoners and forced them to teach colonists to farm. All right, so you know the way that they paint the images of it was a happy get together as soon as the white man got off the ships. Well, according to history, real history, all right, a lot of them were forced to show them the ways of how to live off this land. All right. Because also we got to remember that a lot of these so-called white people that got off the ships, they were criminals, all right, and they were coming from a low state, all right. They weren't in rulership that long, and basically from the money that they stole from the Moors and the Jews who are Israelites, they used that to finance their voyages over here, all right, and to destroy another part of the Israelites, all right. In 1623, the English indulged in their first use of chemical warfare in colonies when negotiating a treaty with tribes near the Potomac River, headed by Shiakan. The English offered a toast symbolizing eternal friendship, whereupon the chief, his family, advisors, and 200 followers dropped dead of poison. You see that? You see that, man? So our people are so ready to take gifts from these other nations, man. But a lot of these gifts, man, are to destroy us. All right. And to have our mind change, about who they really are. You see what I'm saying? Besides the early Virginians engaged in brickery and sloth, even cannibalism. All right, and then also too, they always try to put in that Gad was a cannibal. They got this movie now called Green Inferno. All right, where they're trying to say the tribe of Asher is a cannibal. All right, down there in Peru. So those were different misinformation that was written into the history books, all right, to promote that our people were savages, but it was really them that committed the most cannibalism and pedophilia and atrocities, all right, to take control of this land. They spent their early days digging random holes in the ground, looking for gold instead of planting crops, right? Because they heard about a lot of the wealth, all right, that the Spanish got down there in Mexico, down there dealing with the Incas, down there in Central America, all right. So them not finding a lot of gold in the North America, which later on they did find, in California and all these other places, but early on it wasn't presented to them, So they were on they were hungry, man. They were hungry to steal and to destroy. All right. Soon they were starving and digging up hut-rid native corpses to eat, or renting themselves out to American Indian families as servants. Hardly the historic founders that a great nation requires. See, so it was built. This place was built on criminals, man. All right, vagabonds and criminals and invaders. All right, and then also too, the main star from Maze Runner. What did he do recently? He stole a lot of stole a lot of Native American artifacts, all right, off a movie set, which different films were filmed on that movie set, which was a native burial ground, all right, basically, and they stole it. So that's always been their plan, all right. Always has been their decisive nature, man. Their deceiving nature, all right, to destroy our people. All right. Yeah. So with that, yeah. Shalom.
Yeah, this is a document about the abduction and murder of Pocahontas, a true American hero, by Karen K. This is from March 24th, 2009. It says here, briefing, in the Powhatan society, the young girl and boy's coming of age is celebrated and was no different for Pocahontas. However, because there was a rumor of an abduction planned for Pocahontas, her ceremony was limited to special friends and family only. There is a special dance called the courtship dance, during which male warriors searched the dancer for a mate. This is probably where their courtship began. After a time, they were married. Like going back into the time of when Benjamin and Judges, this is where this goes back to. So that's how you know that these tribe of Gad, Native American Indians, so-called Native American Indians, they had the laws. So going back to their heritage, they would keep this custom. Even going back to the time when Benjamin, the tribe of Benjamin, they went off, and then Mosai nearly exterminated them. They had to keep this type of practice to bring little Benjamin back during the time in Judges. It says here, Kokam was an elite warrior. He was among 50 of the top warriors that guarded the capital of the Powhatan Confederacy. He was also the younger brother of the Wahan Seneca, Pocahontas' father, friend's chief Japaza, because the priest called feared that the colonists plotted to kidnap Pocahontas. The couple went to live in Kokam's home, which was isolated from the colonists, and farther north. She was in fact being hidden from the English. Kokam and Pocahontas had a child, little Kokam, a boy. It was Captain Samuel Argall, an English colonist, who accomplished the feat of kidnapping Pocahontas. I have to pause here to tell you of a movie I once watched where it rendered that Pocahontas and her father had a falling out and that had banished her from the tribe. Oh, no. See, Esau fucking likes to write his own fairy tales, man. It shows you that she was already endowed, man. She already was betrothed to somebody, and now Esau's writing bullshit, man. Instead of the lies that they feed you, man. That's why you have to read in this day and age, man. You gotta find out the truth. It says here, I'll read it again. I have to pause here to tell you of a movie I once watched where it rendered that Pocahontas and her father had a falling out, and that he had banished her from the tribe. Thus, he had taken up the English. Nothing could be further from the truth. Pocahontas was a princess dearly loved by her father. She was also married to Kokam and had a child by him. Never would she have been banished from the tribe. The movie did nothing but further false data about the very brave woman. But back to Captain Argall. Why did he wish to capture Pocahontas? Why did he take such extreme measures? That's being covetousness, man. And on top of that, that's adultery that this guy went forth to go into. For he certainly did. Once he had learned of her hiding place, he had gathered together not only men but weapons and arms to attempt to capture her. But why? Remember that the English colonists were looting the Powhatan villages of their stores of food. They were also raping their women and children and oftentimes stealing their women and children in order to make them servants for the English. But there was more. The Powhatan had many diverse and rich agriculture fields. There were no trees to cut, no land to clear. All one had to do was to go and destroy the village and take over the land, which was considered easier than clearing the land oneself. Because of this, the colonists accepted retribution at any time by the very powerful tribe. It could have happened also, but remember that Seneca considered the English a branch of his tribe. Though the abuses were numerous, he still sought other ways to deal with the problem rather than killing them outright. Through trickery and deceit, Captain Argall managed to get Pocahontas onto the ship. She was supposed to be returned. She never was. She was held for ransom. So this is, the fucking devil. So no one can say that a white man's not the devil. It proves itself, man, in history, man. Because these are his accounts. This is a shame, man. We're lifting up the skirts on this damn devil. This is here. It says here, what he demanded for her father in the ransom, the return of English weapons that had been taken from Jamestown. B, the return of the English prisoners, Seneca, held captive, and a shipment of corn. Seneca had once paid the ransom. In fact, Argall's rights of the transaction in the log in 1613. This news much grieved this great king, Slakia. Seneca, yet without delay, he returned the messenger with this answer, that he desired me to use his daughter well and bring my ship into the river Pamaki, and there he would give me my demands, which being performed, I should deliver him his daughter, and we should be friends. Although Seneca quickly carried out the ransom demands, Pocahontas was never released. According to the book, Images 27, it says here, according to the book, The True Story of Pocahontas by Dr. Linwood, Little Bear, Costello, and Angela L. Daniel, Silver Star Oral History states that before Argall took sail back to Jamestown, several of Argall's men returned to Pocahontas' home and killed her husband, Cocum. It was tradition that he would have come for her and rescued her, something that Argall could not have. Little Cocum survived because upon Pocahontas' capture, he was put into the care of several of the women of the tribe. There are still many descendants of Cocum who are alive and well to this day. You may again wonder why Powhatan didn't retaliate. Part of that is Pocahontas' father fear for her life if he did so. The other is a tribe culture foundation of appeasing evil. If one could always sought a balance between submitting to an evil demand and preventing the loss of life. Even so, the Cuaros, priests of the tribe, advised a swift retaliation, but while Seneca would not do it, fearing for his daughter's life. One of Pocahontas' elder sister, Mata Chana, and her husband, Utamata Makin, who was also a priest, were allowed to visit Pocahontas during her captivity. Oral tradition is very distinct on the fact that Pocahontas who was also a priest who were allowed to visit Pocahontas during her captivity. Oral tradition is very distinct on the fact that Pocahontas confined that she had been raped, and that worse, she suspected she was pregnant, again raped and unheard of in Powhatan society. Shortly after this confession, Pocahontas was quickly converted to Christianity in order to rush her into marriage. At this time, it would have been inconceivable for a Christian man to marry anyone who was not Christian. It was supposed that Sir Thomas Dale was actually the biological father of Pocahontas' child, since, according to scholars, William M.S. Rasmussen and Robert S. Tilton, it was Thomas Dale who was most likely linked to Pocahontas during her kidnapping.
Okay, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai. Double honors to the Apostle of Great Millstone. And salutations to the elect, pushing the truth of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Okay. This is the last segment of the Thanksgiving special, and this is actually dealing with the 1620 Mayflower, Plymouth Rock, Massachusetts Bay. And this is from a book titled Encyclopedia of American Indian Contributions to the World by Emery Dean Keogh and K. Mary Porterfield. And this is page 262 under the title Thanksgiving. Okay, it says Thanksgiving is a holiday celebrated in the United States on the fourth Thursday in November and in Canada on the second Monday in October. In the United States, this holiday commemorates a feast celebrated by the Pilgrims at Plymouth Colony in October 1621. Members of the Algonquin Wampanoag band in what is now Massachusetts were an instrumental part of this feast. Without them, there would have been no dinner. And this is generally the accepted and widely known version of Thanksgiving. And this was with the Wampanoag, and this was under the chief Massasoit, and they don't really talk about what happened with his son though. Massasoit was basically inviting to the Pilgrims, and he let them in, and they kind of had a feast, and that's where the buck stops. But that's not where Thanksgiving was established. The actual day of Thanksgiving, it was never a day established for the Pilgrims. What happened was you had King Philip, who the white men called King Philip, who was Massasoit's son, who was named Metacomet. And basically, he grew tired of the Pilgrims because the Pilgrims, there's small skirmishes, one person go missing and was blamed on the natives. There was some drunk Edomite out there, he stepped on a frozen lake or pond and he drowned, and people would turn up missing, people would be dead. Remember the Pilgrims too, they stole from the natives provisions. They would go in their winter provisions and steal because they didn't have food. A lot of them were lazy, as we read before. And the Virginia Pilgrims in Jamestown, they were digging up graves, doing a lot of disrespectful shit. So, what happened with Metacomet was basically they sat him down and they said, okay, we're going signed a treaty of peace, whatever. And then they said, but we need all your warriors to be unarmed. And that's where he said, fuck you guys, basically. And that's where the King Philip's War started. You know, and at the end of that war, Metacomet was killed, his family sold into slavery to the Bahamas, the West Indies, and his head was cut off and put on a spike on in the original colony of Massachusetts, or Plymouth, and it was on there for over 2 decades, man. And after that, they proclaimed a day of Thanksgiving. You know, basically we kill the natives, we have the food, thanks. You know, give thanks. You know, that's the uncommon and unheard of version, which is the truth. All right, the truth hurts. Down here, same page, it says, although they believed that to be their God-given destiny to live on the land inhabited by the Indians, during the first winter, nearly half of them died from disease or starvation. Lost and hungry in August 1620, the colonists raided not only Indian storehouses, but also graves in search of corn. And as we read earlier, with the Virginia pilgrims, they're all the same. When they raided they dug up the graves, they took the corpses, man, and they made some soup out of them. They were cannibals. Alright, same thing here. Then American Indian farming device brought the pilgrims from the brink of starvation. Squanto, the only surviving member of the Patuxet band, who had learned to speak English when he was captured and sold into slavery. Okay, you got dumb people out there saying the natives never went into slavery. Yes, they did. Right? It was actually a common practice for pilgrims to capture slaves on the east coast of America during that time. The Spanish were doing it. The English were doing it as well. All right, Squanto. This is the great heartwarming story of Squanto. He came and showed the pilgrims how to plant corn, and they survived. But they don't show how Squanto talked to them. How did he know English? Because he was first captured, brought to England on a slave ship. All right, forced to be Christianized. During that time, they called them praying Indians. That was a term, praying Indians. There was an Indian. I believe his name was Chanco or something like that, and he warned the pilgrims that the natives were going to attack. I believe it was in 1622. There's actually a plaque of it, but they called them praying Indians. And Squanto came back. But what happened when Squanto came back? His whole village was destroyed from smallpox. Everyone he knew and loved in his whole life were dead. So he was so colonized in his head. He had Colonial syndrome, he had Stockholm syndrome, that he showed the pilgrims how to plant corn. And that's the heartwarming story of Squanto. But it's a story of misery, man. A story of wickedness. Alright, he met the pilgrims in the spring of 1621. According to historians at Plymouth Colony, he taught the Puritans to plant corn in mounds and to fertilize it with herring or shad. Other historians say he also provided the pilgrims with deer meat and taught them which plants to use for medicinal purposes. So he showed them the whole ball game. And after that, they were thriving, man. You know, because it says when they used 1621. He met them in 1621, so they were thriving, man. They not only knew how to plant the corn and fertilize it, all right. He showed them where the game was, the deer, how to cook it up, you know, how to save it for winter, what plants to use, because a lot of these Edomites were probably dropping dead. Oh, I like this berry looks good, eat it. It's poisonous. Just because it looks good doesn't mean it's good for you. You know, it's poisonous. Or poison berries, like poison plants. So he showed them when you get sick, get this plant, you know, boil it, make a tea out of it or whatever, make a poultice, whatever you do. That's that medicinal purpose for that herb. So he showed them the whole ball game, man. And after that, they were thriving, you know. So this whole thing about Plymouth Colony and, you know, Plymouth Rock and Massachusetts, and it was a nice feast. It was bullshit, man. You know, because you don't teach the other half, the other side. The fact that you had whole tribes that were being extinct, man. And you had Edomites praising their God, white Jesus. Alright, Caesar Borgia, you know, praising them that these savages were being killed. Why don't you teach that part in history to the children, man? Better yet, why don't you teach it to our children, the Israelites? You actually teach the descendants of the conquered that that the white man was good to them. So how the hell are they conquered? Why are they in reservations? Why are they in ghettos? Why do they have bywords and proverbs put on them? Alright?
So this is the autobiography of Russell Means called Where White Men Fear to Tread. Right? This is from page 176. Dealing with the Thanksgiving, which most of you people are retarded as hell, celebrating it, not knowing the origin. So this is the excerpt. It says, when we met with the Wampanoag people, which is the tribe that was located primarily where so-called Plymouth Rock was, you know, the Mayflower landed. The tribe there was Wampanoag, but there are other tribes in the surrounding area, the Pequot, the Narragansett, you know, but Wampanoag is the primary people with whom the pilgrims from the Mayflower came in contact with, right? It says, they told us that in researching the history of Thanksgiving, they had confirmed the oral history passed down through their generations. Most Americans know that Massasoit, chief of the Wampanoag, had welcomed the so-called Pilgrim Fathers and the seldom mentioned Pilgrim Mothers to the shores where his people had lived for millennia. The Wampanoag taught the European colonists how to live in our hemisphere by showing them what wild foods they could gather, how, where, and what crops to plant, and how to harvest, dry, and preserve them. The Wampanoag now wanted to remind white America of what had happened after Massasoit's death. He was succeeded by his son, Metacomet, whom the colonists called King Philip, in 1675-76, to show gratitude for what Massasoit's people had done for their fathers and grandfathers. The Pilgrims manufactured an incident as a pretext to justify disarming the Wampanoag, which basically there was a lot of skirmishes, you know, not a lot, but there was like incidents where a cracker would go missing and they would blame it on the Wampanoag, you know. But again, you don't know the terrain, man. You know, why would a random Gadite kill one random cracker? If they wanted to, they could wipe you all out from the moment you came on the shore. Alright, it was some drunk Edomite on a lake, you know, on a frozen lake, you know, that fell in, you know, went missing or went up in the mountain, you know, with some whiskey. You know, it doesn't make any sense. So that's the pretext that they manufactured. You know, they manufactured an incident where they say, okay, we don't want any war, so we're gonna sign this treaty. You know, and then they said, well, we're gonna have to disarm you as well, and that's where Metacomet's like, no, fuck that. You know, this is number one. This is our land. You're visitors. You know, you're not gonna disarm us, because that's, you know, how are you gonna disarm a man in his own house? All right, that's their house. It says, the whites went after the Wampanoag with guns, swords, cannons, and torches. Most, including Metacomet, were butchered. His wife and sons were sold into slavery in the West Indies. So what? Gad went into slavery too? Alright, for you Jakes out there talking about Gad never went into slavery, or Native Americans never went into slavery. His body was hideously drawn and quartered. For 25 years afterward, Metacomet's skull was displayed on a pike above the whites' village, the real legacy of the Pilgrims' fathers' treachery. Most Americans today believe that Thanksgiving celebrates a bountiful harvest, but that is not so. By 1970, the Wampanoag had turned up a copy of a Thanksgiving proclamation made by the governor of the colony. The text revealed the ugly truth. After colonial militia had returned from murdering the men, women, and children of an Indian village, the governor proclaimed a holiday and feast to give thanks for the massacre. He also encouraged other colonies to do likewise. In other words, every autumn after the crops are in, go kill Indians and celebrate your murders with a feast. You know, and that's the true story of Thanksgiving, because you guys try to say that they had a bountiful dinner and, you know, they traded foods and ideas and ideologies, and, you know, they were so peaceful. That's not so. You know, he was killed. That this was King Philip's War. That's what it's known as. You can look it up. All right. It was started over bullshit. You're gonna try to disarm a man in his own house, so they killed him, sold his family in slavery, and killed the rest of the tribe. You know. So after they went and killed the village, they came back and they gave thanks, and they encouraged other villages or colonies to do so. And that's the real thanks. That's what you give it thanks for. You know, that's why you have your cranberry sauce, which is the blood of the Native Americans, on your table, man. And other items that symbolize various other things. Alright? Alright, shalom. This is the last part, the last segment. Alright? And first I'm going to bring out this scripture. Deuteronomy 28. Verse 28. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. You know, and that's what our people are smitten with, is madness. You know, that's why you see Native Americans on the street. Why are they drinking? You know, why are they bugged out in their mind? Because the Most High struck them with madness, which is craziness, another word, an old English word. Blindness. They don't know who they are. Their heritage and culture are lost. Alright? And astonishment of heart, of the mind. 29. And thou shalt grope at noondays as the blind gropeth in darkness. Alright? Showing me that they're not physically blind. It says as the blind gropeth, meaning that as a blind man, you know, or let's say you turn off the light in the room, you know, or you enter a room that's dark. What are you doing? You know, you can't see, so you're feeling, you're trying to see where the switch is. So that's what the tribes are. This, of course, the specialists deal with Gad and Reuben for Thanksgiving. You're groping, you're trying to see, you're trying to find the truth, you know, but you're groping like a blind man. I mean, you're trying to feel it out. You're trying to go to your powwows, your sweat lodges, you go to your elders, you know, try to have movements like Native Lives Matter and I don't know more. But all you're doing, you're missing the mark, as the scriptures say. It said that thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. So all those ways that you're doing, you're not going to prosper in them. Alright? And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore, and no man shall save thee. You know? So all your ways that you're doing, if it's not according to the scriptures, you're not your heritage, you're not going to prosper. You know, you're going to be oppressed evermore. That's why natives are getting shot in the street, you know, as on the same level as Judah. Alright? You're catching the same out, diseases, poverty, suicide, etc., man. Alright? And the reason I brought up the scripture, because the Lord did strike us with madness. One of the main tactics of the white man during the, I'm going to say, not the Pilgrim era, but I guess you could say the Thanksgiving era, so-called, you know, the Colonial era. The white man found out the natives' taste for alcohol. They have not known that, you know, the whiskey, the moonshine, etc. And they seen them that they could not control their taste and their want for it. And what they did, they said, okay, these people can't control themselves, so let's further this. Let's further it. So this is a book, American Indian Holocaust and Survival, Population History since 1492 by Russell Thornton, starting from page 65. It says, much 17th century North American Indian depopulation stemmed directly from the effects of these early colonies, particularly as colonists brought more diseases to more American Indians. It said Dobbins, which is a scholar, for example, has noted 12th, 17th century North American Indian epidemic of smallpox, 4 of measles, 3 of influenza, 2 of diphtheria, 1 of typhus, 1 of bubonic plague, and 1 of scarlet fever. Colonies also caused further conflicts between Europeans and American Indians, which resulted in warfare and genocide, famine, starvation, and destruction of American Indian way of life, and pushed Indian tribes away from their lands and more restricted areas. To be included among the depopulating effects of colonies was the introduction of alcohol to American Indians. Although it seemingly took them a while to succumb to it, it was probably not until the late 17th century that drunkenness became a major Indian problem. Right? This is a quote. This is it became so, it is asserted by James Axtell, as a result of trade between Europeans and American Indians. This is the quote. Alcohol was introduced to the Indians as a gift, a companionable toast before trading or politicking began in earnest. But it quickly became a staple of trade itself when the Europeans saw that many natives, though by no means at all, acquired a large thirst for it, despite its initially unpleasant taste and their total lack of experience with fermented beverages. Despite its relative weight, neither capacity or knowledge of the Indians or their language was necessary for the sale of it, and the profits to be made were considerable, especially when it had been watered. So they were selling watered down liquor too. The white man showing you, if the white man was your brother, again, if he's your so-called brother, why would he see that you, when he sees that you're susceptible to this, why didn't he say, okay, no, this is causing a big problem, it's epidemic, these people are drunk, it's easy to trick them. No, they said, oh, this is amazing, this is, number one, this is a great business enterprise, selling them liquor, and we can actually water it down because they have no experience with it. And oh wow, we can actually make treaties with them and trick them and make them more susceptible to our devious ways. Showing you what these pilgrims were, man. It says American Indians at the time seemingly never learned to drink moderately. Most drinking Indians imbibed only to become thoroughly drunk. Social drinking for taste or mildly pleasant sensation was rare. Traders soon realized that a drunk Indian was far easier to exploit than a sober Indian. Rum was in fact one of the main reasons for the traders' success with the Indians. Page 66. Since negotiations for the sale of furs were often made in the heart of the forest, a practice the famous Hudson-based company tried to avoid by having the tribesmen bring their furs to certain trading posts or forts. The traders could easily induce his warriors to have a free dram of rum before the business of barter began. This was a fatal step for the Indian. One dram called for another, and before long the tribesmen were thoroughly drunk. The trader could then literally steal the skins and furs, slipping off into the night with his prizes. It was not long before American Indian leaders recognized what was happening and pleaded with colonial leaders to curb the spread of alcohol. The arguments they used were two: that people were dying in excessive numbers from drinking-related murders, and we know also from exposure and increased susceptibilities to colds, pneumonia, and other diseases, and the temperance issue. Right? It says, in the end, though, many native societies were virtually destroyed by the quest for alcohol. The desire for rum impelled Indian hunters to kill more game than was necessary to purchase only dry goods, thus hastening the serious ecological imbalance in their territories. Alcohol also loosened the Indian's hold on his land. More than one treaty was signed under the influence and abuse that fueled Indian-white conflict throughout the colonial period and beyond. Alright, so that shows you, man. They would say, oh, here, you have this, sign this treaty, and then this treaty signed, and the white man says, no, that's law, that's a law. So this is just another tactic that they use to gain more land and to get more money and to destroy you. That's their main goal. So with that, I hope you brothers learned something. I want to say Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai for this truth and let us bring this out. Double honors to our elders, great millstone whom we learn the truth from. Salutations and peace to the elect pushing the truth of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. And this has been the Thanksgiving special. Alright, exposing the white man for the devil that he is. Celebrating a holiday, making it a federal holiday in Canada. Alright, Columbus Day in America, but they also have a Thanksgiving. I believe it's in November. Celebrating the downfall of our people, man. Celebrating. It's not a hidden holiday. It's an open for everyone to see, and have a dinner. Just toasting on the death of our people, man. All right. Shalom.